Welcome to the North Shore Community Association's podcast of August 24, 2023. Hello everyone, this is Annie Lafrenière, the NSCA's Programs and Communications Coordinator. Today, we will present an interview with Stephen Kohner from the St. Andrew and St. George Anglican Church in Baie-Comeau, discussing the fundraising campaign to aid this newly designated heritage building. Then, we will cover community events and services on the North Shore of Quebec.
I'd love to give a huge welcome to Stephen Kohner, who's a very active member of the St. Andrew, St. George Anglican Church in Baie-Comeau. So to start, I was hoping you could just tell me a little bit about the St. Andrew's and St. George's Church and kind of your involvement and role within it.
Right. Well, the Anglican Church was first constructed in 1937. So it goes back to the origin of Baie-Comeau. It was the first church that was built, and it was open for all Protestants. So instead of having, let's say, a United Church, a Lutheran Church, a Presbyterian Church, you had one church, and it invited the entire community to worship there, all of the Protestants. And that's been its core mission, to provide these not only religious services, but also a very, very strong social network activities. We've had our Ladies Guild, the Scouts were involved. Other community groups have rented the church over the time. And we're at a period in our history where we have to turn a lot of our attention to building, not just the building maintenance, but also the renovations that have to be made. This has been our concentration for the past 6 months.
Can you tell me a little bit about the fundraising campaign you've got going on right now and what you've been working on?
Our main goal is this year, for 2023, is to replace the roof. So it's almost 25 years old. It's weathered, and we're very, very concerned that it may not survive another winter. Maybe the water, the rain, the snow is going to infiltrate into the building itself. And you know what happened. Once that starts, there's not much you can do. So that's our primary focus. And we've been really fortunate so far. The Ville de Baie-Comeau has declared the church a heritage site by the municipality. That was on May the 15th. And they've also contributed $30,000 towards the $65,000 needed to replace the roof. We are applying to other foundations. We will be applying to the Anglican Foundation in the hopes of obtaining a $15,000 grant. And we've been soliciting friends of the parish. And so far, their response has been very positive. We're in between $8,000 and $9,000 collected. So things are looking good, and we're hoping that we'll be able to give it a final sprint. The idea is to try to replace the roof as of August 15th. We have to make sure, though, the money is in place. We can't move forward without having that cash on hand. Of
course.
Yeah, and we have other needs. We have to replace our oil furnace. As you know, oil is, we got a nasty surprise this year with the price of oil. It increased to 300%. It's an old furnace dating back to the late 1950s. It is not environmentally sound anymore. And so we're looking at replacing that with an electric furnace. We're also looking at repainting the exterior of the church. New siding, insulation, and windows for the upstairs. So it is a few $100,000.
Yeah, it's just small change.
Yeah, well, that's it. And it's not just, everybody thinks, oh, okay, well, you're just repairing a building, but you're actually trying to fulfill the mandate and the raison d'etre of the church, and that is to provide a community space. And without a proper and a safe, nice, attractive building, it'll just fall into further disrepair because people will become absolutely disinterested. Oh, they're not taking care of the building. Why should I bother?
And if people want to get involved and help contribute to the fundraising campaign, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can. We have a page on Facebook. Church of St. Andrew and St. George, so they can go on there. They can also contact me at 418-295-3431. They can also Google my name. I'm sure I'll come up. We're just very, very thankful. We've got a great group of volunteers that are, and some people not even associated with the church that are really up and coming with their volunteering, their hours, and their expertise. And we don't have it. We don't have it all. And so it's just amazing to see it's the generosity, but the care that people are expressing.
That's really great. You mentioned that on May 15th, it was deemed a heritage site. I'd love to know a little bit about what that process was like on your end. Was it like an application process, or was it something that the city decided to give you unprompted?
We took the initiative in early November to start looking at having the building declared a municipal heritage site. The process is usually very long. However, we were able to use the guidelines issued by the province of Quebec and really zero in on why should this church be designated a municipal cultural heritage site. And we spent, it was days and days just mounting it was a 4-page letter that had to be very precise. Everything's in French. So luckily I was working with a person who had a mastery of French, but also how to really design design the sentences and what do you want to say and how do you say it. And it was beautifully written. And we had about 4 or 5 different main headlines, but we followed the guide to the letter. We met with the Ville de Baie-Comeau urbanism department. Boy, oh boy, I mean, they were just so open and so professional, and they helped us out in immeasurable ways. Really helping to guide us through the whole process. And they set up a timeline for us. They ensured that, okay, well, this step has to be done. You need 60 days of notification to the town council. There has to be a public meeting from the urbanism committee, the cultural committee. And so there's a whole process. It took a good 7 months.
Wow.
And in this day and age, that's really quick. Yeah, and we had a fabulous support from the town council. I mean, they were just completely on our side and very supportive. And we couldn't have asked for a better situation and a better outcome. So on May the 15th, it became official. And once on that same date, we were able to have city financing, this $30,000 grant. Now, they do not give money to churches. So you're wondering, hold on, this is a church. How do you get the money? Well, it's because our application was to have the church recognized as a heritage site. So what they do is they give money to a heritage site. It just so happens to be a church. It was done in such a way that it's really being given to the building in it's as a patrimoine. And what's happened since then, it will allow us to apply for future grants from the MRC, from the Ministère de Culture et Communication. And we're now in the process of, we've hired an architect out of Chicoutimi to do what's called a carnet de santé. The carnet de santé is an absolutely essential document filled out by an architect, and it allows you to go after the Conseil de patrimoine religieux de Québec funding. That's the provincial funding. We'll be eligible for 70% funding by this program, and that'll be a huge plus because we're going to have all of our elements documented and very well laid out. So what are the needs, and how are you going to go about what are the initial estimates for the cost? Everyone's asking how much it's going to cost. How much it's going to cost? I don't know. I have no idea. So this document actually puts everything into writing, and they put it right into the template that's used by the Conseil de patrimoine. So we'll be submitting funding or financial documents with them come the fall, and hopefully this time next year we'll have funding in place from them.
Incredible. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. And I say it was a real team effort.
Mhm.
And as I said, there's 5-6 people on our committee committed, and they all have know-how in different areas, and that's been the forte. And not everybody can do everything, so many hands have made the work a lot easier.
That's amazing. I just have one more question for you. I'd love to know, you alluded to the community aspect of having a building like this. Can you elaborate a bit on why it's so important to a community to have a space like this?
Well, it's not only a place of worship. It's 85 years since we had our first services, but it's also a community space. For example, the North Shore Community Association rents the church on a weekly basis for their wellness program. It's a small, intimate place in the basement. It's fully equipped, and so it's always served that kind of purpose. We've had our social teas. We've had our handicraft sales. We've had different community groups meeting, and space like that is rare in Baie-Comeau. Somewhere that certainly the English community is comfortable meeting in. We can lay it out exactly the way we want it, so it's adaptable. We've been gifted, even plates and utensils from the Ladies Guild that goes back to the 1930s, and so we're still using all of those, as I said, the utensils and the plates and tablecloths and you name it, and so it's a place where people can gather and share, familiar, and also they're just so pleased to be able to meet and gather and socialize. This is a huge concern is isolation among seniors. It's rampant, and the pandemic has had a horrendous effect on it.
Yeah.
And we're just so pleased now that we're able to be open to the community events, but in particular, our partnership with the North Shore Community Association has been absolutely spectacular. And if it wasn't for them, we just simply we'd be having Sunday services, and that would be about it. It wouldn't be fulfilling our mandate and our raison d'etre. And so having a community group like that as a full partner, we count our blessings.
Absolutely.
It's a real gift to our church. It's as I said, it's continuing the mandate that we were given way back in 1937.
Incredible. Cool. Well, those were all of the questions I wanted to ask you today. I really appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation. I'm so happy that everything's going so well.
So far, so good. Yes,
Yeah.
and we're hoping we're going to go on a bit of a break this summer. But in one way, the donations keep coming in, which is fantastic.
Got the summertime blues? Why not jump in the car and take a little road trip to experience some culture? Here are a few things you could check out. The Manicouagan Sea Minerals in Pointe-aux-Outardes. Come and visit a one-of-a-kind site where marine mud is highly valued. AEM Lab Incorporated is a company that extracts, refines, and manufactures cosmetic products made from the marine clay that is found in Manicouagan. Take a tour of the facilities to learn more about the geomorphology of our beautiful region, as well as the manufacture of various cosmetic and health products. The Regional Forest Interpretation Center in Franklin. Set in a charming coastal setting, this interpretation center showcases the history of the North Shore lumberjacks and pioneers. Tour typical log cabins filled with artifacts that illustrate the living and working conditions of the past. Reserve your lumberjack experience, Expérience de Bûcheron, that could include accommodation in thematic ready-to-camp prospector camps, with or without meals, fishing lessons, guided hikes, and other activities. The Amerindian and Inuit Museum in Godbout. This museum's private collection will introduce you to First Nations and Inuit art. Here in this historic building, which was the former village post office, you can see an old-fashioned bread oven and, if you're lucky, sample delicious home-baked bread fresh from the oven. Get ready to be inspired by watching potters and painters at work in their studios. The Société Historique de la Côte-Nord, the Historical Society, presents Sea and Saltwater in Baie-Comeau. How would you like to explore the history of boats in a region? For more than 135 years, liners from different companies have linked us to the rest of Quebec, ferries have connected us to Charlevoix, Gaspésie, Bas-Saint-Laurent, and Newfoundland, and sailing or motor schooners, often run as family businesses, have been used to transport goods and passengers within the country. Ships of all kinds have also been a source of adventure, work, and a link to the rest of the world. Honeymoons, visiting relatives, transport for education, precious deliveries of all kinds, and even the departure or stopover of a brother sailor or captain. There are so many memories to discover through these vessels. Are you traveling with an electric vehicle? It's entirely possible to travel on the Côte-Nord in an electric car. The region has a growing infrastructure of electric charging stations, making it easier for electric vehicle owners to get around. Also, the distance between the main cities and attractions on the North Shore is relatively short, making electric car travel even more accessible. You can plan your trip using lecircuitelectrique.com, which lists the locations of charging stations along your route. By choosing to travel in an electric car, you contribute to reducing your carbon footprint and preserving the natural beauty of the Côte-Nord. Enjoy your trip by stopping in picturesque coastal villages, exploring hiking trails, and admiring the breathtaking landscapes without any polluting emissions. Toddler Time in Sept-Îles is back after its summer break. Please join Amber at the NSCA office on Tuesday, September 12th at 10 a.m. Check the NSCA Facebook page for more details or contact Amber.
We would like to thank our sponsor for this podcast, the Secrétariat aux relations avec les Québécois d'expression anglaise.